What is up, everybody? Loud No Hippie Trucking and Transportation coming at you from colorful Colorado. Color's a little bit more white than what I would prefer, but see if anybody's going to get in here. See how many people are out here getting trapped in this weather. Let me take a look at my 360 and see how many truck drivers that I know are out west of Colorado, or Denver, should I say. Oh, only a couple. Only a couple. Huh. Hello. What's up?
Looks like you never responded, so I didn't know if you never got my text. You were still sleeping.
I did. I'm actually just going live right now. So let me give you a call right back. What time are you coming in tomorrow?
Not until 5 something.
All right. Let me call you back.
Details later. Oh, you call me back later after. I was just calling to say good morning.
All right. Love you.
Love you.
All right. Bye. What's up, Peruvian trucker? I tell you where you don't want to be. You don't want to be out here in Colorado or West. Denver's not bad. I only got like 5 inches of snow at my house, but any further west, I don't know if I'd want to mess with it, or south. I know that 70's been shut down like for at least a few hours at a time overnight. I don't know what's up with 80, but I'm assuming that's bad. I know 25 down south is bad, so it is definitely not anywhere that you want to be. And I'm looking at my trucker map, and this is so valuable to me because I see all these truckers here, and I can see kind of where the majority of the truckers are, which is going to be over here on the East Coast. I'm trying to do this in reverse. So all these guys are on the East Coast, right? And then we got a couple that are out west. But what this does for me, for those of you guys that haven't listened, heard me talk about this before, is if I'm in a certain area and I know that the weather's bad, I'm going to look at my map and see if there's any truck drivers in the area that I'm going to be going through or whatever. And then I'll be able to look and see what their speed is, all that kind of stuff. Maybe give them a call, stuff like that. This is the 360 app, but this wasn't even set up by me, but I've set people up on this app that use this for that same reason. Sun gazing out in North Carolina. So anyway, wanted to talk about yesterday and kind of what my the reflections I had on yesterday. Leah, I think I sent you the link. It's it's just a group of truckers that basically sign up on this link. So if you still want me to send the link, just tell me you want me to send you the link. I'll send you the link. So I'm not talking about the election or anything like that. To me, that is what it is. You know what I mean? It has no bearing on how good I'm going to do, bad I'm going to do, whatever. My life's it's going to change very immaterially. So that's not what I'm talking about. What I do want to talk about, and it's kind of what I've been missing at Prime lately, is the day before yesterday, I sent a message to one of the people that works at the mortgage company I used to work at. So we're going back. I haven't really worked there since 2018. And because I know they held meetings every Tuesday morning. So I told them, I just sent a message to one of them and said, you guys still having the meeting, tomorrow? Yeah, all right, I'm going to show up. Man, I'm telling you, do not, normally at this office, you might have 5 people show up. The rest of people are doing it on Zoom or over some webcast or something like that. Tell me the office wasn't packed when I went in there yesterday. They made a brother feel like we're going back over 6 years since I worked there. And I walk in there and feel that kind of love and stuff like that. It was just an amazing time. I don't miss the job at all, but it's the one thing I thought we could capture at Prime. Maybe not to that same degree, but we were like right there. Like 3 years ago, we were like right there at the precipice, and then we just blew it up. But it's that kind of stuff that I really kind of a lot of people that are just coming over to Prime are like they don't understand what it was like back when I first came in and before, because there were people that were there long before me. So they're the ones that said it like that. But it was definitely an eye-opening experience kind of getting back into that, and you're never going to have a trucking company feel like, where you're going to be like that. But if I'm working at a place 5 years ago, 6 years ago almost, and I walk in there with, it's almost like time hadn't passed. You know what I mean? I'm almost getting choked up about it, and I'm not even joking about it. And one of the things, because I sat in on their meeting, right? And their meeting was basically 10 minutes worth of just dealing with like any issues, stuff like that need to get handled, any individual things on certain loans or whatever that need to get handled. And then the rest of it was more just, I'm not going to call it team building, but it was, I think that a lot of trucking companies, I thought Prime wouldn't fall in that same category, but I think that a lot of what was happening in that meeting it wasn't about business, it was about relationships. You know what I mean? It wasn't, like I said, 10 minutes about business, the rest of it was just bonding. And I just think that, man, I'm just telling you, it really makes me mourn what I think Prime could have been, or where they were headed to before it got derailed, or not where it was headed to. I don't think it would have ever got any stronger than it was just because of the business, but it was like it just automatically went in reverse a while back. So anyway, like I said, still great company, but I did sit there when I was in this meeting and I was listening, and they were, a lot of it was about me telling stories about, because me and we go back a long way, and it was I did take something else out of that too. I'll get to that in a second. But just telling stories about shit that was happening, just crazy shit that happened back in the days and stuff like that. One thing I did get out of this was the company has kind of grown so much in experience that, so for example, when I was a manager there, we were kind of in the middle of our growth cycle, and there were things that, how can I explain it? I think that if you have a revolving door, whether that be truck drivers or whether that be in the case that I was at, mortgage bankers or whatever, the more stable you can have it, keep your employees around, everything like that, the more able you are to focus your training and efforts on the people that have been around, that have the most experience, if that makes sense. So when I was a manager there, primarily at the beginning of that, it was a lot of procedural stuff, kind of had to teach, had to kind of train down to the lowest common denominator because there was a lot of newer people that were coming in and things like that. Once things get stabilized or whatever, which it is now, you don't have the same topics of conversation. You don't have the same things that you need to deal with. And that kind of stood out to me in some of the conversations that were being said about things, was that they took for granted, or they didn't take for granted, that everybody knew their fucking job. They didn't have to tell everybody or micromanage every little thing about everybody that's there because they've been there. And I think that trucking jobs in general, we could be talking about Prime or we could be talking about anybody, is that they assumed that one job leaving and one job coming in is equal. They don't take into account that that's not equal. One person leaving that has 10 years experience driving getting replaced by one person that has 0 years of driving, that's not an equal trade-off. And I kind of think that that's a trucking industry thing. That's not necessarily a Prime thing. I just think that, maybe you could get it at some smaller companies. I don't know. But the whole training down to the lowest common denominator, and just like, Andrew, yesterday, I was just talking about me going into the office yesterday at the mortgage company, and how I just went in there and it was just open arms, all love. So that was it. You know what I mean? That was my day yesterday, and I had a lot of time to reflect on a lot of things when I was in there, and just think, just business things. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. But anyway, that's one thing that I was sitting there thinking about when I was in there was, that meeting wasn't a meeting to really do anything other than bond, and I think that a lot of places could take from that. So anyway, all right, let me check out some of these comments. Dick Dickerson made it in and out of the terminal, camera free. All right, that's what I'm talking about. Leah, bro, my liberal hippie side or self is showing. And I do bring out some emotions every now and then. You know what I mean? For you, leaving wouldn't be compensated by someone else showing up. Man, I'm telling you, whether it would be or not, it could be me or it could be a number of other people. It could be somebody that's been at Prime for a year that leaves and gets replaced by somebody that has no license. At some point, that will catch up with you. And that could be any trucking company. And the trucking company, and I'm not talking about the minor, small carrier, the big carrier that really understands that is going to be unstoppable. It may take a while to build that camaraderie between everybody at the company, but that company that truly does start to live by that, that isn't just like a driver leaving and it's just like, all right, bye, but really is there for retention and stuff like that. And that's going to be an unstoppable company right there. When it is, somebody does feel valued and they don't feel like, I'll tell you a story. So I was talking to a guy that was with Prime, and at this point, he's probably been at Prime for almost 30 years. Well, he's been at Prime for between 25 and 30 years. And I got so many of these stories from back, and I don't know if it's just impossible at this level or not, but certainly going out of your way to not do some of this stuff is just negligent. But I was talking to a guy and he was like, he'd been at Prime and he was kind of struggling And we're talking about this is like 20, 25 years ago, struggling. And he said, I went up to Rob Lowe and I said, hey, I'm going to need to turn in the truck. He talked to Rob Lowe directly. I need to turn in the truck. And they have a conversation about it. And Rob was like, you know what? I think he gave him a certain amount of money or something like that or whatever, just to kind of get him through what he was going through. And that one gesture led to a driver still being there 25 years later. I talked to another guy that said, his wife was sick and stuff like that and needed to get to California, and Rob Lowe fired up the jet and got him out to California. That guy's, I don't know how long he'd been at Prime at that point, but he's, that's another driver that's, all right, love you, Andrea. Talk to you later. That's another driver that, is one of them long-term drivers. And you hear a lot of, if you really pay attention when you go in the terminal and not just try to stick to yourself and all that kind of stuff, but if you run into some of these guys that have been there a while and have those conversations, man, they'll tell you some stuff like that was going on back in the days, or even people that have been there just as long as little as me could tell you stuff about, a little bit further back, but really them like old school drivers. And I hope that we don't start taking this for granted, how important it is to actually have drivers that don't need to like your every decision, but they need to understand it and have the opportunity to express themselves without being told to, if you don't like it, leave, or make, just shit like that, ultimatums or whatever. Corey Miller, shout out, brother. I was at Prime in 2012. Was a great company. I left when they grew even bigger. Everything changed. You could tell that the brotherhood changed. I don't know when you left, but that's what, I can't even imagine what it would have been like in 2012. But in 2019 or whatever, when I started, I mean, literally, it was like I just got a video yesterday that somebody took of the terminal yesterday, and there's like nobody there. There's just like individual people that are just scattered everywhere. There's really like I don't know, there was just a soul to that place that I think is Captain Trucker, I don't think it has anything to do with the amount of drivers. Prime was there. Like, I don't think it could have got any bigger, because I don't think that you could tie all the departments in that cohesively. But it was there. Like, I'm telling you, it was like, when I was there, it was like, and a lot of it was drivers. I think a lot of what's missing is just the drivers, because as I was saying, you have this revolving door where at some point the driver's years of service is going to be whittled down lower and lower and lower and lower. And once and the lower that gets, the less drivers will actually care about the place. Like, even just stuff like, you could be driving down the road and people would go out of their way to wave at you, all that kind of stuff. If you saw another Prime truck at a shipper receiver having a problem getting in and out of a dock, you wouldn't even ask any questions. You just go out there and help. It was like, it was, a lot of it was just at the driver level. But as I've said, I think that, there was a time maybe when Corey was there when you'd look at it and say, Prime is a family. But then, you might be saying all of Prime. You might be saying all the way from, and I did see a little glimpse of that. I'll get into that here in a second. But you might be meaning everybody. And then it just keeps getting whittled and whittled and whittled down closer to where your core group is, which would be like your immediate drivers that you um, have, relationships to some degree or another with, direct fleet manager, direct payroll, maybe direct uh, logs advisor, but that might be about it. You know, yeah, Raker, you could call it what you want to call it, um, a struggle session, or whatever. It's not the tipping point of size. Seems like once it reaches some levels of growth, maybe they lose some human element. Well, the thing about it, Captain Trucker, is we're actually smaller than we were back then. So, and I do think that COVID had, something to do with it. I think COVID might have caused a little bit of internal conflict that a lot of drivers weren't even aware of in terms of just between in-house staff. Your pleasure, 721. What's up? Okay, Leah says the soul's still there. It lives in the detail shop. You know what? Here's one thing that just happened. I had my truck in the shop, right? Springfield about 3 weeks ago. And, the driver comes out, or not the driver, the mechanic comes out, and I could tell he was trying to get in my truck, but he didn't want to get all the way in the truck for some reason. It was like making it awkward for him. And I was like, man, why don't you just come in here and do what you need to do? And he was like so respectful. Seriously, man, I know this is you guys' home and stuff like that. And I really don't like to, basically he didn't want to encroach on my home and, being very respectful of that. And man, I don't even know how we got onto it, but we were talking about his family and, I'm not nobody to be hunting or no shit like that, but his son just shot his first deer and he was going through all those different pictures and shit like that. And his house that I don't remember if he just bought it or whatever, but it's like paid for, but he didn't want to finance anything. So he's paying to get all the stuff done as he goes. And I mean, it was just like that conversation right there went beyond just like your regular interaction between a mechanic and a driver. So then what happened was they sent me the survey, right? So I fill out the survey, very detailed in it, actually, I don't remember how detailed I got. Detailed enough in what I put in the survey. Then it said, would you like to be contacted? So I was like, you know what? First of all, let me see if they're actually going to take me up on this. And then second, yeah, I'd like to tell somebody directly about this if they're going to call. So yeah, please contact me. Tell me that it hasn't been a month and nobody's contacted me. Off-grid trucker, no, I wasn't talking about the election. To me, the election is immaterial. I'm going to do what I'm going to do anyway. You are never going to see me whining and crying about what I'm going to be able to do or not be able to do based on who the president is. Because I grinded under Obama. I grinded under Trump. I grinded under now I wasn't as successful this last few years, but that was my fault. So I'm going to do what I'm going to do. It really doesn't get me as far as that goes. I know I was kind of a little misleading. Actually, I wasn't misleading. I said what I actually thought, but it was kind of a play on the election. But hopefully what this does is it shuts down any excuses. That's one thing that I hope it does. Any excuses, because boy, truck drivers, that is one thing I will give truck drivers. They'll make an excuse about any goddamn thing. Like it's the president, whether it's the fuel or the rates or whatever it is, no introspection whatsoever. I was just, like I said, just meeting with my old mortgage company yesterday, and them motherfuckers didn't blame shit on anything. You know what it is? We gonna grind our way out of it or do whatever, and that's it. Yeah, drivers will complain about any fucking thing. I'm gonna tell you right now, and I am 100% accountable, regardless of who the president is, who is not, what the policies are, any of that kind of stuff. Whatever it is, I got to work around it. Off-grid trucker. I hear you. I mean, what? Goddamn, Frankie, come here. I might have to get off here. My dog might need to go to the bathroom. Frankie, you want a treat? You want a treat? I gotta see if she's. You want a treat? Come here. You want a treat? Come here. Come here. Come here. Well, this dog doesn't love nothing other than to eat some damn treats, but she's built for the snow with all this fur. But those of you guys just came in here, you do not want to be messing around out here on I-70, I-25 South, I-25 North, I-80 West. All right, let's see. At the end of the day, you still got to look after yourself and family, continue to do what's necessary. It's just going to be another day, as far as I'm concerned. Now, some of the, I mean, I'm not going to get all into, I mean, some of the policies and stuff like that, you know, the way some people are treated, I'm more concerned about that than any of the other shit. But anyway, that was it. That was my day yesterday. I'm telling you, that was just a good time to reflect on what really is important. Because like I said, I haven't worked at that company in almost 6 years, or around 6 years, maybe a little bit longer than 6 years. And that culture to where they just tell everybody, hey, Lyle's in town, he's going to be at the meeting tomorrow, and everybody shows up, you know, brought in some barbecue, all that kind of shit. I don't think it's that hard to get. It may not get to that point in trucking, but I think at least trying to do that and not try to do the opposite of that would help us get there a lot better. Off-grid trucker, I hit a deer, and I think the $1,000 deductible is too high, especially when they tell you to hit it. You shouldn't have to pay $1,000 deductible if you had a deer guard on your truck. I personally don't have a deer guard on my truck right now, so I'm contemplating getting that. If you have a deer guard, you do not have to pay that $1,000 deductible. Talk to Road Assist or the insurance, or they need to take that back. Definitely follow up on that. It's actually it's actually written in the contract. Frankie. And that's the only reason I was thinking. I mean, well, there's a couple of reasons I'm thinking about getting the deer card. Just because if I hit something, I don't want it to take me out of service too long with too much damage. But that extra 5 inches you get by not having that deer guard comes in handy in a lot of these places we're having to back into. So I'm kind of contemplated. Yeah, hey, dope strings. If you actually call First Guard Insurance and listen to their message, it actually, the last message that I've had when I called First Guard, they actually mentioned that thing about the deer guard and the $1,000 deductible and that kind of thing. And that wasn't that long ago. That was probably a month ago. All right. If it hit the side of your truck, I don't know if that's going to count or not, off grid trucker. I just know. I think it would still apply because they keep mentioning that in the safety meetings about the deer guard. So I'd at least double check on that. Now I did get hit in the side of the truck by a deer, and I did end up paying the $1,000 deductible for that. Leah, what do you mean, really? Really, what? You talking about the deductible? Yeah, really. Now I don't know how the regular lease driver's insurance is. I don't. I know it's still covered. I know it's still covered as regular lease driver, but I think it might be. I know it's handled a little bit more individually on the lease purchase side. So we have our own uh, individual policies. I think somebody sent me a video hitting a deer. Yeah, I don't know if that one's going to qualify or not. I don't know. It's not going to hurt. What's up, Shamarcus? For those of you guys just came in, I'm not talking about the election, none of that shit. I'm just talking about my meeting that I had. Not even a meeting, but the meetup I had at my old company yesterday. Had a chance to go in there, have a couple beers, eat a little barbecue, talk a little shit, tell lies, stories about shit that happened back in the day. That's changed a couple times for Peruvian trucker as far as the deductible went. The only time they would charge a deductible for a known. All right, so if it was prime on prime crime, I don't think they would charge you that other $1,000 if it was that another prime driver. Or in the case of a deer, if it really hits you head on, I don't think that they would charge you. I think you'd be able to get that overturned. They might send out that generic email, but I know that they charge you when, for example, I had a car hit me in St. Louis 5 years ago or 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, whatever. I got charged $1,000 deductible, and I ended up eating the $1,000 deductible because they didn't have insurance. But I would think that if it's a situation where they're pretty sure that the other party has insurance, or it's like a deer or some shit like that, then you probably wouldn't even get charged that right up front. Let's see. I'm thinking about getting the deer guard. Like I said, if they could learn how to put a fucking deer guard on worth of shit, half the deer guards I see that are out there aren't on correctly, or they're loose and bouncing up and down, which is one of the problems that I had on the truck that I'm in now. It was good enough, but then I had a driver hit a pothole, which was really not much of her fault at a receiver, and then that just like completely jacked the deer guard up. So rather than, it wasn't near a terminal, so they just took it off, and I just haven't put it back on yet. But at this point, time off is time off, baby. I mean, if I hit a deer somewhere, then I might just catch a flight or rent a car and just go home and relax. And like I said, it's easy to say that shit in a Freightliner. You know, one of the downfalls of that comfortable ride is that longer suspension. And when you got a deer guard on that Peterbilt, or without the deer guard on the Peterbilt, that's at least 4 inches of extra room you have up front. So there have been times when I might have needed to kind of set up a little different, or whatever the situation might be, and I got that little extra 4 inches to work with. That's good shit right there. So yeah, they've been talking about that in the safety meetings, and you know, one of the things that we'll say is just go ahead and hit the deer. We'll get the truck fixed and everything, but they aren't gonna. None of them people are gonna chip in and make them payments while the truck is down. I almost hit a deer the other, probably 3 weeks ago. Now, a deer and a moose are two totally different things. I'm not saying what to do. If you see a moose out there, all I'm saying is if you haven't seen a moose out there, I'm not saying what you should do. I'm just saying you're looking at some serious damage on that one. Deer guard or not. When I was in training, I was driving on 90. I think I was in South Dakota. Trainer was driving. All of a sudden, the brakes go on like super hard and everything. So I get up, look out the curtains. There's a moose that is staring into the windshield like as high as we are, like straight in that bad boy. So anyway, I just wanted to jump on here right quick. I had a little nostalgia, and it was just like, man, such a good day yesterday. I just wanted to just kind of talk about how it's not impossible. It's not impossible to still have the policies you want, and still have people that have a strong passion for the company. Yeah, country back roads, definitely. Maybe that's the way to force some time off. You know what I mean? Because I know that even if you have a truck paid off and everything, they still don't want you just, I think there was a time back in the day, I used to talk to a couple of drivers I talked to that would be like, man, I just work like 3 months out of the year. I just come back and run a load every now and then, maybe 2 loads, and then take off like, 30 days and come back and run a load or 2 and then take. So maybe that's the way to force some time off. Hit a deer, take some time off. All right, well, I'm going to get off here, take this dog outside. Like I said, if you happen to be wanting to come to Denver, I'm looking at, it is snowing right now. It's probably 5 inches of snow out there and gaining. All right, I had to deal with the backing next to a stretched long nose. It kind of tied dock this morning. Why is that truck even legal? Yeah, some of them guys, boy, they got to pay for that nice truck too. All right, I'm gonna get off here, take my dog out. I'm not sure there's a load worth it to come out here in this mess right now, because when it snows in Denver, 6 inches, 8 inches, whatever they're calling for, do you know how much is going to be hitting I-70 and I-80 and south on 25? It's a lot. So Plan your trip around this shit. I don't know if there's really a way to get around this. Romeo is burning. What's up? I'm about to get off here. All right, I do appreciate you guys stopping by. No Hippie Truck and Transportation. As always, comment, subscribe. I'm out.